Today we are talking birds. I am joined in studio by Chris Lajewski. He is the Center Director of Montezuma Audubon Center, and for the last several months we've been doing these conversations over Zoom, but not today. We are back. We are inside the FingerLakes1.com studio here on Inside the FLX. Chris, welcome back. It's been a while.
It's great to be with you, Josh.
So, holiday season is here. Busy time for you guys. We were just talking before we came on air here that you guys have actually gotten back to full staff, which has got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, very exciting times for Montezuma Audubon Center. We have two new environmental educators, and they're leading high-quality educational programs, birding tours, and now with two new staff, we'll be able to get back to bird conservation projects all the year long. It's not just a spring or summer thing. So we've got some winter activities going on, like Christmas bird count. In January, after the holidays, we'll be involved with bald eagle survey across the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. So a lot going on at Montezuma Audubon Center.
Absolutely, including colder weather, which I'm sure means some kind of change in the migration pattern here. Finally, it's starting to feel like the holiday season and starting to feel like winter outside. What's going on with the migration?
Yeah, well, we're at the tail end of bird migration at this point here towards the end of November. However, birds continue to pour into the wetlands and grasslands and flooded agricultural fields. So a lot of ducks, geese, and swans are around. We're seeing about 24 species of waterfowl now in the complex. One of the best places to see these birds is along the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge Wildlife Drive, which remains open through November 30th, so just a few more days for folks to get out on that 3-mile drive and see thousands and thousands of ducks, geese, and swans. Sandhill cranes have also been there. And another place to see these birds is over at Montezuma Audubon Center. So on our marshes, we have 200 acres of habitat and about 2 miles of trails that circle around the marshes and through forest and grasslands. These are areas that are not hunted, and so birds find refuge there in our habitats. Another interesting sighting is that the sandhill crane population here at Montezuma continues to increase as we go deeper into this fall season. We're now up to about 200 individual birds being found at a place called the Knox Marcellus Marsh, which is just north of the Thruway and the Erie Canal. It's a section of the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge, accessible from a public road. It's called East Road. Now, if folks go there and don't see the sandhill cranes, they could see them in some of the agricultural fields in that area. So kind of Armitage Road and Route 89 are also great places to see sandhill cranes and so many other birds right now.
We've talked about sandhill cranes before. I think you guys had a big number of them out there last year as well.
That's right.
What's their daily pattern look like? That's one of the questions that I see quite a bit is, people will say, oh, I was out at such and such location. I had heard there were a lot of whatever kind of waterfowl might be, and I didn't see them. Like, do they all tend to follow the same kind of pattern during the day, or is there something special or specific with the timing of the sandhill cranes during the day? Best times to see them?
Best times would be in the early morning hours, so say before 10 o'clock in the morning, and then also as the sun is beginning to set. So 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock or so in the afternoon are great places or times to go to see those cranes in that Knox Marcellus Marsh. During the day, the cranes will venture out into other marsh habitats, into those corn fields and soybean fields, feast up and also rest, but then at the end of the day, they'll go back to that Knox Marcellus Marsh, and we've got pretty impressive numbers. So last year, I believe we had about 350 sandhill cranes in that largest flock at Knox Marcellus. There's still time that we could get to that level as more birds move south and work their way down to their wintering grounds, which will be at least the mid-Atlantic states. Some are going to make it all the way down to Florida for the winter.
Those kinds of numbers, when you're talking 200, 300, a couple winters in a row, standard for what you guys are accustomed to seeing out there, or a little bit unusual in the volume of them that you've seen?
That number continues to increase every year. When I started working at Montezuma Audubon Center about 13 years ago, we would see a few dozen, maybe 50 sandhill cranes during this fall migration season, and seems like each and every year that number of sandhill cranes increases. And so last year 350, we were expecting at least that number, maybe even a few more this season. So a great sign that conservation is working, not only here in this Montezuma Wetlands Complex, but across the life cycle range for the sandhill crane. The population has actually expanded out here into the eastern part of Canada and the United States over the last 30 years or so. Again, testament to conservation, habitat restoration, and we're enjoying the benefits of that right now.
I was going to say that must have a lot to do with the environment that's being created out there and upheld to a certain degree over many, many, many years.
Yeah, not only land protection, making sure that we have more conserved land for birds like the cranes and so many other species that rely on wetlands and grasslands for breeding and migration and also wintering, but we're also restoring habitats and making sure that they are high quality habitats which have food, water, and shelter and ample space for these birds.
Species spotlight this month is the northern harrier. What can you tell us about that fine bird?
Well, the northern harrier is one of our charismatic fall winter birds at the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. It's a large hawk. It used to be called the marsh hawk, and we changed the name in the last few decades to northern harrier. It's out generally hunting during the day, and it generally flies low over marshes and grasslands. This is a fairly decent-sized bird, just a slightly smaller than the red-tailed hawk. So it has a wingspan of about 3.5 feet, pretty impressive. The males have kind of a grayish plumage overall. The female adults and the immature birds are more brown overall. Female adults have streaky chests, whereas the juveniles are more of a buffy brown chest. But all types of the northern harrier have a white rump patch. That is right on the base of the back, where the back meets the tail. So the adult males, females, juveniles all have that white rump patch, which is a very unique feature and only to the northern harrier. Now, the harrier also has this owl-like face, even though it is a hawk. It's a really cool-looking bird. And because it's hunting low during the day, you can see them regularly around agricultural fields at Montezuma and marsh habitats, and also all around the Finger Lakes region. Numbers seem to increase as we go deeper into this fall season, and throughout the winter months, more of these birds are coming south and spending the winter with us, and they're feasting on small mammals, maybe meadow voles and shrews, and also small songbirds. Now, this is a threatened species here in New York State, meaning that population has declined significantly over the last 50 to 60 years. However, Montezuma is a great place to see these birds, and again, a testament to the conservation work that goes on at Montezuma. We're providing a home for this threatened species at Montezuma.
For those listening or watching, the difference between threatened and endangered would be?
Well, the endangered list means that it is very close to going extinct. If we continue to lose habitat, the population of a species would continue to decline to a point potentially where we lose that species. Threatened is not quite as bad, but if we continue to lose habitat and population, the next step would be an endangered listing.
Where has the habitat loss been for this particular bird? Like, what are the environmental circumstances that have been lost over the last few decades for the harrier?
Yeah, really over the last couple hundred years, humans in this country have not valued wetlands and grasslands. So these are open country habitats. They were very easily drained in terms of wetlands, and here in this Finger Lakes region in the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, wetlands were drained so that early settlers could raise crops, grow crops and feed their family, make a living. Also, grasslands are very easy to build on, build homes and businesses, and so those habitats have declined over the last couple hundred years, and here in New York, we've lost about 60% of the wetlands. So as a result of that, species like northern harrier has declined. But at Montezuma, it's a great place still to see them, and a really cool, charismatic looking bird.
How easy are they to spot? If you're out at the Audubon Center, if you're out on some of the trails walking around, tougher to see because there aren't a ton of them, or is it a bird that's fairly common out there?
Well, it's a large bird, first of all, so a 3.5 foot wingspan. That's a sizable bird, and that unique hunting method, very low over the vegetation, maybe just a foot or two over the vegetation. Red-tailed hawks don't hunt like that. Bald eagles don't hunt or sit perched like that either. So they're fairly common at Montezuma Audubon Center, not in a lot of numbers, but we generally have a few hunting in the fields and marshes around. The wildlife drive at the National Wildlife Refuge is also going to be a great place for people to see them, and then that Knox Marcellus marsh as well at the refuge.
All winter?
All winter.
Hang around all winter, yeah.
If we get a lot of snow, making it more difficult for the harrier to find small mammals, then they may move a little bit further south to areas that have less snow. But if we have average snowfall, then harrier's going to be around.
December, end of the year, that means it's fundraising time for you guys. I try to talk about this, or I try to plug this, I feel like, a few times a year, but we are here now. First of all, how do we do it? And the second part of that is, how important and how crucial is this fundraising effort to what you guys do all year long?
Right. As we're approaching the end of 2023, we're launching our year-end fundraising campaign, and people who want to support bird conservation work through our nonprofit Montezuma Audubon Center, they can go to montezuma.audubon.org and click on Support Our Work. That work will go right back into bird conservation work and the educational programs and tours that we lead at the Audubon Center all year long. We've had a lot of successes over this past year. A lot of bird conservation work happened. We restored well over 100 acres of habitat, engaged dozens and dozens of the next generation of conservationists. These are high school students and college students who are the next leaders of the conservation organizations like Audubon. One of our best moments, I think, of the year was the fact that we were able to mobilize a couple of dozen volunteers back in June. And we fanned out across the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, including at the Audubon Center, looking for an endangered bird species, the black tern. This is a bird that used to be all around New York State, especially up on Lake Ontario, and it's generally always been around the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. But because of habitat loss, population has declined, and it's an endangered species now. On average, we will see about 61 black terns at the Montezuma Wetlands Complex during the month of June. This year, 96. So a testament to bird conservation. We could not do that survey and the habitat management that is required to make sure that black terns have that habitat if we didn't have the support of so many bird lovers and nature enthusiasts from all around the Finger Lakes region. So now is a great time to support bird conservation with a tax-deductible donation to Montezuma Audubon Center to make sure that in 2024 and beyond, we can continue to have habitats for black terns and the 300 different bird species that can be found across Montezuma Wetlands Complex. So again, that's montezuma.audubon.org, and click on Support Our Work.
And let's talk a little bit about the birding tours that are coming up this month, or I should say in the next 30 days or so. Plenty of opportunities to get out, and always curious, is this an opportunity for, say, a beginning birder, or somebody who just has maybe a vague interest in birds and curious? Is this the kind of opportunity to step into that with some folks around who are more experienced and know what they're doing?
Yeah, birders of all levels and experience levels are welcome to join us for these birding tours. We see new birders and new individuals all the time for these tours. We also get people who have been coming to these tours for nearly the 13 years that the center has been around. So A lot of opportunities to get out and explore, but these birding tours are going to be taking place in the month of December every Wednesday. So we're starting on December 6th at 10 o'clock in the morning. We drive people around the Montezuma Wetlands Complex to the birding hotspots. So we do some scouting in advance. We know where the birds, the ducks, the northern harriers, the bald eagles, the swans are located. It's a narrated tour with one of our environmental educators, and we spend about 2.5 hours out birding. We provide binoculars and spotting scopes. We'll make 3 or 4 stops at the best birding hotspots around the complex, looking for these birds, helping people identify these birds. Great thing about birding is that it's a very welcoming community. We see all levels of birders out at Montezuma. If people have a hard time identifying a bird song or how a bird looks, what the plumage of the bird, well, generally more experienced birders are going to step right in and help that more novice birder identify that bird. And of course, we're trained staff at the Audubon Center, so we know what these birds are, how to identify them. So we're going to spend a couple hours out on these next few Wednesdays, the 13th at 1 o'clock and then the 20th at 10 a.m. All these are listed on our website, and folks can register through the website as well. It's a $15 fee that we charge, but well worth it, and we're introducing people to the best birding hotspots so that if people aren't familiar with Montezuma, they can learn about these areas and then go venture off on their own, or continue to certainly join us for additional birding tours.
You mentioned the scouting element of it. Does that change week to week, or is that something that you're doing like hours in advance, minutes ahead, or days before, or do you guys have kind of an idea of where things are headed week to week?
Well, we know where generally the birds are, but it's always good to be out there a day or so in advance to see what the conditions are like, especially as we get into this colder time of year. We're going to start to develop a little bit of ice probably on the marshes, and so that may force birds to move to unfrozen marshes. So we do scouting in advance. There are so many listservs that focus on birds around the Finger Lakes region. Cayuga birds, Oneida birds, Genesee birds are just 3 that we utilize. And so we rely on birders that are out in the community posting on these listservs to help inform us about where birds are. And of course, we do our own scouting as well.
How much does, say there's this coming Wednesday, you're going to have one, night before you get a snowfall. It's been no snow up until that point. How much does that change what you expect to see when you go out there, or does it not really have any effect that short a notice?
Oh, it certainly might. A decent snowfall may cause the birds to move to another location. And that's one of the exciting things about birding, is you may go to a particular area several times during a season, but every time it's different because the conditions are changing, the habitat has changed, and the birds are likely changing as well. So you never see the same thing twice through our birding tours. And I know that they're going to fill up because we did these all month of November as well, and all the birding tours filled up. So folks are definitely encouraged to go to our website, montezuma.audubon.org, click on that Programs and Events tab, and then they'll see the list of upcoming tours and how to register.
Speaking of events, December 9th, the Holiday Spirit is coming to the Audubon Center.
Yeah, December 9th, 10 o'clock in the morning, with the holiday cheer going on and a lot of carols and holiday songs going on. Well, don't forget about the birds. The birds are also very active and singing this time of year as well. So we're going to have a multifaceted event here on December 9th. And that's going to be involving an indoor portion where we help individuals identify some of our common winter birds through their song and also their plumage. Once we go through about an hour or so of instruction and informing folks about what the birds are and how they look and what they're singing like this time of year, we're going to go out for a nice little stroll on the Audubon Center grounds, about a mile-long trail, mostly over flat terrain through forest and grassland habitats, to put these skills to the test. And so again, this is a great opportunity to stretch your legs and also be around other like-minded individuals and look for birds that are going to be common during the winter months. So the fee for this is just going to be $10. It's going to involve the indoor portion, outdoor portion as well.
And we've got another event coming up on the 16th, Getting Digital.
Yeah, so on the 16th at 2 p.m., so these are both Saturday events here. Birding has certainly kept up with the times, and there are so many different apps on phones these days that help people identify birds and also report bird sightings wherever they happen to be. And these tools can help people identify birds at Montezuma Wetlands Complex and in their communities all across the Finger Lakes region. So we're going to be focusing in on eBird and the Merlin apps. So Merlin is a really great tool developed by Cornell Lab of Ornithology scientists. It first started about a decade or so ago, just helping people identify birds that they saw. And now it's developed to the point where you can record a bird singing nearby, and the Merlin app will tell you what bird is singing. So
That's wild.
amazing tool.
That's
Amazing
wild.
tool. Yeah. And the other app that we're going to be focusing in on, the eBird app, a great tool to record bird sightings in your backyards from the comfort of your own home. And those sightings help guide Audubon's conservation work. There aren't enough of us Audubon employees across the Western Hemisphere to know where all the birds are at any particular times, know what the population is doing, where are we doing enough conservation work, where do we have to do a little bit more. So birders all across the Finger Lakes region are welcome to join us to learn about these apps. And then again, we'll be taking a walk, about a mile-long walk on our trails to record bird sightings, but also use that really cool Merlin app. So if folks aren't familiar with these apps or the digital component or technology that has developed over the last couple of years, here's a great opportunity to come out and enjoy it.
Makes it easier and a lot more accessible, I would imagine, for a wider range of people, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And you know, not everyone has the ability to see.
Mm-hmm.
And but they might be able to hear the birds that are singing. So Merlin is a great opportunity, but also just being out with other individuals during this holiday season, celebrating nature and the birds that are around with us. It's a great time of year to be out, and it's going to be a great opportunity for people.
One more time before we go, how can folks donate? Where do they go?
Yeah, montezuma.audubon.org. Click on Support Our Work. We do have a matching campaign going on right now. A very generous donor is contributing $7,000. So if people donate through the end of this year, they will be helping us unlock that $7,000 match. And again, montezuma.audubon.org.
Chris, thanks for the time, and we will see you next time on Inside the FLX.